Press the button, which means that we started, which is how you intro it. You intro it kind of unprofessionally. That's how you do it. All right, Easter Sunday, number 5. We're counting this as number 5. Number 6 will be Wednesday, so we're not going to be skipping any. We're just going to do one in between the national championship, and it just so happens that Easter Sunday is the day before the national championship in college basketball, and we'll talk about that, and that should be fun. And the difference is with this and other sports is that you don't have the championship matchup set until a couple days before. Like in college football, you get some time. Now, the whole deal, you only get a couple days. They don't have that much time to prepare for each other, but we'll start in the Final Four, which was last night. And, it was really a reverse of what everyone thought was going to happen. Everyone thought Baylor and Houston would be a good close game and that Gonzaga would kill UCLA. It was the opposite. Baylor was up 25 at the half. They just controlled the game completely. And the fact that Jared Butler is starting to hit threes again for Baylor is not good for other teams, but they're now playing Gonzaga, who is a little bit of a different animal. But, I don't really have that many thoughts on this Baylor-Houston game.
No, I thought
Houston had one guy making shots. Marcus Sasser had 17 of their 20 in the first half. And when he's doing that, you're not going to beat Baylor.
No, I thought – I picked Houston +5 in that game, thinking Baylor was still going to win, but it was going to be a close game. I thought Baylor was going to beat them inside and Houston was going to beat them outside, but that first half just blew them out of the water. And Houston, to come back 25 in the second half would have been a big feat.
Yeah, but when you're facing a team as good as Baylor, they're really good at just closing games out. And when they're up by 25, they're never going to look back. And that's why they still won by 19.
Houston's coach said after the game, he's like, we outscored them in the second half, but we only outscored them by 6. But when you come out of halftime and you're looking at the score when you're down 25, you've got to do a lot in a little bit of time.
Yeah, that just wasn't close. Baylor's just better. I just think that Houston doesn't have the same juice offensively that Baylor does. And now – we get the matchup that we deserved. This was supposed to happen in December. They were supposed to play each other. It got canceled. And now we're getting it again of the two best teams in the country, in my opinion, going head-to-head. But, the Gonzaga-UCLA game turned out to be one of the best tournament games in a very long time. Probably a top 5 game ever.
Definitely in this tournament so far.
Best game by far, yeah. But, overall, in the history of the tournament, I think this game was that good. And you think about it, UCLA played like a perfect game. They had 1.2 points per possession. You don't do that and lose normally. That's how good they were.
You're down 1 at half. You come down to the wire at the end of the regulation. You tie it up with, 3.3 seconds in overtime. And then Jalen Suggs, who I've been saying is the freshman of the year,
he'll be in top 3 draft pick, probably, maybe top 5. I don't know. I just think Cade Cunningham is still so well thought of as a 6'8" point guard, But I agree, Suggs is. You could make an argument that he's the best freshman of the year. I still think Cade was a little bit better, given the talent around both of them. But Suggs is absolutely number 2. Evan Mobley was good too, probably number 3. But
yeah, I just feel like Suggs' impact on the floor on both ends is just so big for Gonzaga.
Yeah.
Like that block he had on the center.
Yeah.
Comes from behind him, blocks that. That changes that little bit of the game, makes that little swing.
And he got the ball, bounced past to Timmy. Timmy dunks it. Yeah, it was a big-time play. He's really good on both ends.
3.3 left, hits a half-court bank, ball game.
Yeah, that was –
Bill Rafferty said, major onions. Major onions.
I thought the onions call would have been when Nimhard hit that 3 to go up 5 for Gonzaga, and then UCLA still came back. Jaquez hit a 3 in the corner. Then Juzang got his own rebound, finished laying. Kispert inbounds to Suggs, and then the rest is history. But props to UCLA.
Who was the Gonzaga guard that started the game scoring their first 7 or 9 points for him?
I believe that was
Ayemi or
Ayayi.
Ayayi.
He's their 4th best player.
He was playing big for his size.
Yeah, he's really, really good on both ends, and he can make shots. That's what Gonzaga has. All 5 guys can just score, and they can defend, and all they do is run the floor. Like UCLA slowed them down completely in the first half. They were still up 1 at the half.
Yeah,
like
it was funny listening to the announcers getting the 2 Gonzaga players, Timmy and the other guy wearing the headband.
Timmy and Kispert, yeah.
They kept getting them confused just because they kept seeing the headband.
Yeah, I mean, there is a slight difference. Anyone who can't tell the difference is not paying attention, Timmy is bigger than him, taller by a few inches, plus the handlebar mustache. You'd think it sets him apart, plus different style.
He did have that one dunk, too. Showed the mustache off, and boom.
Yeah, he does that a lot. It's legendary, and that's why I don't think you can't not like him. And, this was Adam Morrison revenge when Gonzaga lost in 2006 to UCLA in that game.
To go to the Final Four, right?
I don't know if that was Sweet 16 or Elite 8, but I think it was Elite 8.
Yeah, I think it was to go to the Final Four.
Yeah, because UCLA had that run in the mid-2000s where they went to 3 straight Final Fours. And out of all the UCLA teams to do this in the last decade, I would never have thought that this team would do that, get to the Final Four. And they were within seconds of going to a second overtime and possibly beating Gonzaga.
No, this would have been, the first time a first 4 team would have made it to a national title game?
Yeah, because the other first 4 team was that VCU team with Shaka that went to the Final Four and lost. And, so what a run for UCLA. I mean, Mick Cronin did a really good job with them this year. They lost their best recruit and their best player, and they still found themselves here. But Gonzaga is just too good.
But are they losing anybody?
Who, UCLA?
Yeah.
For next season?
Mm-hmm.
You got to think Jrue Zhang tests the waters with the NBA. I don't think he would be that big of a draft pick, but I think he would come back. I'm assuming Tiger Campbell would come back.
I mean, they don't have any seniors that have to leave. I guess no one has to leave because of...
Yeah, I don't think they're going to lose anybody significant. They'll still be good. They'll still be near the top of the Pac-12.
And they're getting those other guys back.
Yeah. You'd assume so. I mean, I think they have a 4-star guard coming in. I can't remember his name. And then I think Chris Smith would come back. So, yeah, I mean, they'll be good again. But this just really shows how good Gonzaga is, because UCLA would not lose to anybody else in the country playing a game like this. You shoot that well. You slow the game down. You basically control the tempo, even though Gonzaga still got out and ran because that's what they do. And you score over a point per possession, and you lose. I mean, it's stupid how good Gonzaga is. And that's really why I don't see that much of a chance for them to lose. I mean, I don't know who's going to beat them. Baylor's really good, but can they beat them? It's going to take something monumental, which was last night was monumental. But they beat everything.
And they're now the second team that is going into a national title game undefeated.
Yeah, who's the other one that did that?
Larry Bird.
Indiana State, yeah.
In 1979.
3 years after Indiana did it. Yeah, that was when Indiana State was actually relevant. And now, what Indiana State's doing now is firing a coach that did a pretty good job there just because they're bored and they don't think they're good enough, even though you're literally in Terre Haute, Indiana. How good do you expect to be? Larry Bird was there 40 years ago, and you're going to fire your coach because, it's not good enough that he's kept us to the top of the Missouri Valley or near the top. It's ridiculous. But whatever. That's a whole nother story, to talk about the Indiana State Sycamore program. But are we doing the pick now or later?
That's fun. Let's do it. The spread on the national championship right now is 4.5.
Gonzaga the favorite. Who are you taking?
I think Gonzaga's going to win, but I'm taking Baylor plus 4.5.
Anything above 5, I think I would have taken Baylor, but I got to take Gonzaga. I think them getting through that game last night, they're going to win. Normally an undefeated team like that loses that game.
I have Gonzaga winning.
Yeah, but I just think they're so good now, and I don't think Baylor's going to be able to keep it within 5. I really don't. I think Gonzaga's going to win this game 8-10 probably, but I'd love to see Baylor win because that was my bracket, Gonzaga losing to Baylor.
Oh, and another thing I had wrote down for the Gonzaga-UCLA game, which was also I thought was surprising, was the bench points. UCLA had only 6 bench points, and Zags only had 4.
That's a 90-87 game too. But the big thing is, think about this. You had a situation, it was 93-90. You had a situation where the Gonzaga bench doesn't really have scoring options that work. Like, I don't know why Anton Watson ever touched the ball last night, and he touched it multiple times. And Drew Timme being in foul trouble definitely kept UCLA in this game, for being honest. He was out there for a little bit of the end of the first half and the second half, which definitely hurt Gonzaga. And then Aaron Cook, who can shoot if he has to. He's a transfer from Southern Illinois. He's a good option, but they just don't have the main players on this of both of these teams just score. Like, Juzang did nothing but score. Hawkes is a hell of a scorer. Tiger Campbell's making shots.
That's the only thing I worry about with the Gonzaga, though, is if they get somebody in foul trouble early. If Baylor can get one of them in foul trouble early.
I think it's only Timme, though, you have to worry about for them. Like, they could survive without Suggs, honestly. Nembhard is that good. That's the key of having 2 point guards. Nembhard would have been all SEC if he stayed at Florida. He might have already been all SEC before he transferred to Gonzaga, but that's the beauty of having 2 point guards. Now, if Timme goes out, it's a different story because Watson underneath is not great, but the good thing there is that Baylor doesn't really have that dominant big man underneath that can score. Like, Chamwa Chacha was fine, and he's lengthy, and he's got weight to him. I mean, Mark Vital's only 6'5", and then Flo Thomba's not much of a scorer underneath, which helps Gonzaga, but Timmy's the one I'd worry about for foul trouble.
Yeah, but even that Flo or whatever, he's a rebounding machine.
Yeah.
So if you lose Timme and you put some smaller guy down there, like, those will get every offensive rebound.
Yeah, it's good that Corey Kispert can rebound. He had some big rebounds in that game last night for them. But if I'm Gonzaga, I just want to avoid having Anton Watson playing any significant minutes.
That's the one thing I can think of that could really keep Baylor ahead in this game tomorrow, is if foul trouble gets in the way.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the only way. Unless Gonzaga's not making shots, which they have so many options, it's just hard to imagine that all of them are going to be cold at once.
Yeah.
Like, if that was ever going to happen, it would have been the BYU game in the West Coast Championship when BYU was up 13 on them at the half, and then Gonzaga completely took the game over. So, I don't know. We'll see. It should be a good game. I mean, it's the best two teams playing. We're actually getting that. So, should be interesting. And I did say around the Sweet 16, I said we've had all this madness already. We're still going to end up with Gonzaga Baylor in the championship. So, I have receipts too via text message. So, that's right. All right, let's go to the MLB where the season has started. And
to take it to Wednesday, though, the jerseys that we talked about with the highest sales, we found out that those were the sales of Nike jerseys on MLBshop.com post the 2020 World Series. So that makes sense of why there were so many Dodgers from the World Series team on that list, because it's only from November.
Yeah, makes sense. It's kind of not surprising, especially a team like the Dodgers that's that big of a market, and their fans really love them when they're good.
But I mean,
all the famous people.
Yeah, already you got four Nationals testing positive for COVID, so delaying the start for the Nats and the Mets.
Yeah, it's brutal for the Mets. Absolutely brutal.
You just gave a huge contract. Now you can't even get your shortstop to play a game.
Yeah, it sucks for the Mets. The Nationals, I'm assuming they'll be able to get up and going next week. I think if this was last season, they'd be shut down for a while, but now you can kind of control it better if you're the Nationals. Hopefully they can get back out there. But
yeah, where was this game? Where were these games supposed to be played?
DC.
So they didn't. There was no travel thing, so they were at least in their own stadium.
Yeah, that's good. That's a big thing for both teams. The fact that the Mets can now just go to Philadelphia, and hopefully they're fine. They didn't have to play. If they would have played, and then it would have spread to a Met player, then you have a serious problem. But it's good that they're not going to have that happen, but they won't play till tomorrow, which sucks. And if you're the Mets, you hope you don't get out to a bad start just because of this.
Then you had White Sox, Yerman Mercedes starting 8 for 8.
Yeah, I think he started 8 for 8, and now he's 8 for 9 going into tonight. That's good.
He his last at bat last night, he got out. but
He's a stud.
and
MVP.
he didn't even start Saturday. He went 5 for 5 Friday, and then Saturday he hit in the 6th, 7th, and 8th, and then got out in the 9th.
LaRussa probably thinks that he's a well, I don't even know what word I was going to say.
Well, LaRussa said he wasn't even going to play him on Saturday, but after he went 5 for 5 Friday, he's like, kind of just had to put him in the lineup.
He's a stud. He's going to win the MVP. I mean, you start 8 for 8. Woo.
First time since like in the early 1900s.
It's definitely more impressive to do it now. I think the pitching might be a little bit better, So maybe he'll win MVP. I think he's like 28 years old, so he's not like a young guy.
Yeah. He's an early rookie.
Yeah.
Or older rookie.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see what he does tonight. I know Sunday Night Baseball is coming up in a couple hours. Angels, White Sox, not a great game for your casual fan, but
nobody's going against Ohtani.
Yeah, Ohtani's always someone that gets the hype, even though, I mean, he just had injury issues. And, I have him on my fantasy team, but it doesn't matter because I'm losing by 140 in fantasy. So, let me check my fantasy score if the people want to know. I'm losing 212 to 67. It's going well. So, not great. Well, of course, I have 3 Mets players and they haven't played yet, but it looks like there's something going on with pitching in some areas, not in Cincinnati, but other areas, right?
Yeah, a lot of pitching dominance and a lot of weather dominance in other areas. You had the Cubs opening up in freezing temperatures. You had Miguel Cabrera hitting a home run on opening day in snow.
He didn't even know if it was a home run. He slid into second.
Well, I don't even know how you could see the ball that well on the pitch. No. And then imagine, like, the pitcher, like, you're already throwing in there, like, 90 plus. Then imagine if that got hit back at you. You're not going to see it that well coming back at you. You're just going to wear it.
Yeah.
And then trying to find the ball in the outfield on a pop fly in the snow.
Also brutal.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah, and then you had, I think it was like 37 in Cincinnati on opening day, and there were 17 runs scored. And then the Cardinals offense fell asleep, so that was exciting. And the Orioles, as I tweeted earlier, the Orioles are officially a quote-unquote wagon, 3-0, sweep the Red Sox, just beating them up. Orioles are back, probably winning the AL East, so mark it down.
Going bold, but I mean, that is a big start for Orioles, especially over Boston.
Yeah, I thought the Red Sox would be better than they have been this season. I still didn't think they'd finish top 3 in that division, but brutal start. But you know what? They deserve it, okay? I mean, I like Boston. I don't hate Boston sports fans like a lot of people do, but they've won 4 World Series since 2004. I mean, you deserve a couple of bad years.
Maybe this has some side effect of LeBron being an owner of them now.
It could. I mean, I still think it's very weird that of all the teams that he got in the ownership group of, it was the Red Sox. I just don't understand all that. But
yeah, me either. Like when he was in Cleveland, diehard, from Cleveland, all that.
Yeah.
He was there, whatever. Wasn't he at the World Series games when they were playing the Cubs?
Yeah, him and like J.R. Smith, and because I've been to Progressive and Quicken Loans, which is where the Cavs play, is literally right next to it. Like you could look to the left when you're sitting behind home plate. Look to the left, there's the stadium.
But I mean, they were all there.
The arena.
I'm sure he's been to Dodger Stadium.
Yes, you would think so. I think he has.
I would guess he's been to Miami's.
He's probably been to everywhere for the most part, if you don't count like 6 others.
I was just meaning like where he's played. Where he's...
Has he been to Miami's, though? I mean, that seems like a huge waste of time.
I don't know. He played there for a couple of years. I'd imagine he went to at least one game.
I wouldn't go to a Marlins game if I played for the Heat. Other teams I understand, but the Marlins, I mean, come on.
Well, he probably got a friendship with Jeter, and Jeter's like, come over to a game on an off day.
I don't know about that, but it looks like we already got tempers flaring, it appears.
Yeah, in the Cardinals-Reds game, bench is cleared twice in game 2.
I mean, I don't know why sectors of the Cardinal fan base, which we are in, have to be such like sensitive, like we're better than everybody else attitude. Like honestly, who cares? I like that Yachty stood up for Woodford, but I also like that Castellanos doesn't give an F. I like that. He also, his quote after the game was excellent. Do I think that he should have flexed in his face? That seemed a bit weird, but I'm all for having fun in baseball, so I don't.
But all this was from a home run that he hit last year, right?
Well, he hit a 2-run, or he hit like a 2-run shot or 3-run shot on Thursday, and he pimped it pretty hard, even though they were losing 7-1. And people think that he may have been hit because of that, but I really don't think that Woodford, a rookie, is going out of his way to hit Castellanos over that. I just think that he didn't mean to hit him. And whenever he flexed in his face, then people get mad about that. I don't know. I really don't care.
And then what was it? The pitchers got into it in the outfield on the way back to the
Yeah, I don't think Jordan
bullpens?
Hicks was. I don't think Jordan Hicks was happy. It looks like he was trying to go after somebody, but I mean, this is
I'm sure. Then the bench was like, "How about you guys just let him go to the bullpen before they bring him in like the 8th or 9th, and he's gonna come in and throw like 105 at us."
Yeah, I mean, the big thing with the whole thing is that baseball is so stupid when this happens. Like nothing ever really happens. Like 1 out of every 20 benches clearing things, there's actually like a fight.
No, and then of course they showed the old one with Brandon Phillips.
Yeah, that was one of the 1 out of every 20.
When the guy is sitting there spiking Chris Carpenter.
And then what was that? 2 seasons ago, the Reds and Pirates thing, where there was
when the guy literally he gives the ball to the coach and tells him he's going to go after them.
Yeah, that was seems like the Reds do this a lot, huh? Interesting. Recurring scenarios. Interesting. So I really
what was Castellanos' quote?
This is already the quote of the year. I don't know who's going to beat this. He said this about Yadier Molina. That guy could punch me in the face, and I still ask him for a signed jersey. It's pretty good. And if you watch the video of him getting hit, he literally said to Yachty, was that on purpose? Yachty probably said no. And then he picks up the ball, and he's like, do you want this ball? He says that to Woodford. Woodford says no, toss it to the side. Seemed like a respectable thing to me. But the flexing in the face thing, little much. I do think that was a little much, but is it worth the benches clearing for that? Not really, no.
No, what made it worse, too, is then Woodford hit a guy like 2 batters later to walk a run in.
Yeah, and then Castellanos hit a 3-run shot today. So, I don't like that he's in the NL Central still. Wish he was somewhere else. But
did he do a little dance after this one?
I don't really think he pimped this one as much. I think it was just a kind of normal, I do this all the time type deal. I don't know. He had 5 extra base hits in the series, so good for him, I guess. I don't hate him. I don't know why Cardinal fans got to be so like they're gonna hate Nick Castellanos forever over this. Like, come on.
I wanted them to sign him before the Cubs got him.
I would have taken him, definitely, but that's a little bit too much of an edgy move for the Cardinals. Paying somebody, they got to trade for him. Then you might get paid. But on another note, it seems like the Arenado thing's going pretty well so far. He's hitting the ball, making plays.
Yeah,
got to figure out some pitching. You'll be fine. But we'll talk more about baseball on Wednesday. The NFL. Sammy Watkins, huh?
Yeah, pending or 1-year deal with the Ravens, pending his physical.
Get a weapon in there for Lamar Jackson. Maybe the Ravens will actually start throwing the football around the yard.
Yeah, well, because now what? You got him and Hollywood Brown. And who else do they have there?
They still have Willie Snead.
They still do? Or was that a question?
I don't know if they do. I think he's there. They got Mark Andrews, tight end.
Yeah.
And J.K. Dobbins and that other dude.
But they don't. Des Bryant was just a 1-year contract, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
Which I thought he played pretty well, so I don't know how. Like, I figured he could still get a contract somewhere.
Maybe we'll close to the season.
I saw the Bucks and Antonio Brown. They're still debating. They said that his asking price is way too high, which
Sounds
is,
about right.
yeah, sounds just like him. Hey, I just won a Super Bowl with this team, but I'm going to ask a boatload of money.
And he really didn't do anything.
Yeah, he caught one ball, or maybe like 3 passes, and he might have caught like 5 or 6 balls.
He didn't even
entire
play
playoff.
in the NFC Championship.
No.
So yeah, there you go. And then Urban Meyer continues to add to his team.
Yeah, signs former Chiefs linebacker Damian Wilson.
Super Bowl champion, probably, right?
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty good signing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how this Jags team is going to be year one with Urban, but I think if they draft well and they draft guys that are good outside of the first round, along with Trevor Lawrence, you could have something there. I mean, they already have a good receiving core, and they already kept games close like last year. Like they almost beat the Packers at Lambeau. So I think they'll be better than people think. They might be better than the Texans, to be honest. Because is Deshaun Watson even going to play starting the season? We don't know.
No, and now they're talking about now that Houston might even reach out to Alex Smith, have a little QB competition between Alex Smith and Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if Tyrod Taylor was not the week one starter for them unless Deshaun Watson can play. I don't know. We'll see.
And 49ers say asking price for Jimmy Garoppolo is a first-round pick.
Yeah, I mean, this is a quick one here. I just think that they're not going to trade him. And the only reason they're asking for a first is because probably if someone offered a first, they would take it because that's pretty, significant value for someone like that who has underperformed with his contract and had a ton around him in the year that they almost won the Super Bowl, and he wasn't even playing that well. Even though, of course, I guess if I think that was Emmanuel Sanders, if he would have not been overthrown there, they probably would have won that game.
Yeah,
I think that's what happened. I don't really remember that Super Bowl that much, but, they're not going to get offered a first this year. No one's going to do that. I don't think that would happen. Next year, maybe someone will offer a first next year, but they're just going to start him, and they're going to draft a quarterback at 3, and that's going to be that. I think that's how it's going to go.
But then, as Bucky Brooks wrote, why is Mac Jones not a first-round pick? He basically gets at that Mac Jones was surrounded by NFL linemen or NFL offensive line, receiving core, running back. But as you stated, so was Joe Burrow.
Yeah, but, I mean, there is a slight difference, I guess. Burrow did win the Heisman that year. He didn't have a receiver that was as good as Devontae Smith was at Alabama. Burrow was also looked at as a more sure thing prospect. That's why he was such a high pick. He was a safe one, number 1 pick, obviously. So he obviously was a significant pick. But, I mean, I think that Joe Burrow is better coming out personally. And that's not because people look at Mac Jones differently than they did with Burrow. I don't think Burrow would be a top 2 quarterback in this class. I think he'd be number 3.
And I'm not stating that Mac Jones should be a top 5 pick, but I think he's at least a first-round pick.
Yeah, I mean, I think the gap between Mac Jones and then everybody else, which is like Kyle Trask and Jamie Newman and all those guys, is pretty large. I don't know what's going to happen with Mac Jones. I don't buy into the BS that he's going to go at number 3 to the Niners. I don't buy into that. I can see the Patriots maybe doing it earlier than people expect, or maybe the Bears do it if he's there, or someone in the 20s possibly. Let's say the Jets don't take Zach Wilson and then Mac Jones is there when they're up again. Maybe they do that. That would surprise me, though. I don't know. I just think that to compare the two is fair, but I wouldn't use that as my entire argument or I just think they're different situations, different quarterbacks. Like, I think Mac Jones was really good at Alabama, but he had a ton around him. He had a great offensive line.
But to compare, and like when Brooks was comparing the two of them, Burrow had this pretty much the same thing too. Like you said, he had Edwards-Helaire, he had Justin Jefferson, he had Moss. He had
Terrace Marshall Jr.
Yeah, he had a stud. He had a stud line.
Yeah, I mean they were. I think both of those offenses are two of the best that have done it in a long time, and I definitely think it helped the quarterbacks. I still think both of them can be quality NFL quarterbacks, but this quarterback class is much better than last year's, so we'll see. And then we get to the comedy of Chicago football.
Yeah, the Bears. Nagy back to being the Bears play caller again.
Well, the only way this is going to work is if he trusts his quarterback. And is he going to trust Andy Dalton? I mean,
he took 1 year off of doing this?
I think he did it early in the season last year and then stopped doing it. But then there was always people thinking, I think he's still doing it. So I don't know. The whole thing's a mess. I mean, when you have these situations where quarterbacks call plays, then give it up, then do it again, then give it up, I mean, it doesn't ever work out. Like Mike McCarthy was doing that there for a few years at the end in Green Bay. So honestly, I'd be surprised if Matt Nagy's the head coach starting next season or the season after. Not 2021, but 2022 or 2023. He's going to be gone soon because they don't make the playoffs this year. I think he's gone. But
it's not like he was – or wait, you're saying he was letting the quarterback make the plays?
He was letting the offensive coordinator.
Yeah, do his job.
Which is typically a thing, but like there's also a lot of coaches out there that call plays rather than the offensive coordinator doing it.
Yeah.
Like Matt LaFleur calls plays for Green Bay. There's got to be others that do it. Does Arians call plays? I think he does.
Some, but I think he also
collaborative effort.
Byron Leftwich does a lot. Andy Reid does a lot of calling plays, right?
Andy Reid calls plays, yeah. So, but when you keep flipping back and forth between doing it and not doing it, it gets really messy.
When the Bears' offense has looked atrocious for
it didn't matter who was calling plays, they were terrible offensively. So the whole charade of going back, like Adam Gase had problems with that in New York. Horrible job of coaching, and then he couldn't call plays. So that's when you get really messy when you have a quarterback or when you have a coach flipping back and forth between play calling. And this is just par for the course for the Bears over the last decade. I mean, I don't know how you could run a historic franchise that completely into the ground and ruin it. So
the worst is if when you think he's gone, does the GM go with him?
Yeah, I think the GM goes before. The Trubisky pick forever will kill him.
You don't think they go together?
They'll go together, or Pace will go before. That's how it's going to go. It's going to get messy, and then they're just going to have to take a shot and try to get lucky with the next duo. So it's been a while since they've had stable coaching. John Fox was okay, I guess. Kind of. I don't know.
I feel like you have a bunch of historical good players that would come in and be either good positional coaches or coordinators. Like I think you couldn't bring like Lance Briggs in or somebody to be a defensive coordinator or a linebacker coach or something there.
Or you could just bring Ditka back. Boom. Really go for it. I'm sure he would work coaching in this day's NFL. I mean, do it. If I'm the Bears, I'm doing that, and I'm definitely not saying that to screw everything up, but do it.
But I'm saying like Lance Briggs, like bring some of the your good team players back.
Tillman.
Him and Urlacher.
Yeah. Maybe get him into coaching. Players will play for those guys.
Yeah.
I'm not going to play for some bald dude with a visor who doesn't know how to call plays. So, the Bucks are locking guys up because they spent a ton of picks on them, huh?
Who they lock up?
Jrue Holiday.
Oh, I was thinking we were on the NFL. I was like, wait, who did the Bucks lock up now?
I forgot about the the fact there's a Bucks in both leagues, but bad transition. Jrue Holiday. They gave up a ton of first-round picks. They had to do it.
Yeah, get 4-year extension up to $160 million.
And he'll be there forever to the end of time. And there you go. They'll never win a title.
He got that extension the day after he scored 33 points.
The Milwaukee Bucks will never win an NBA championship. You heard it here first.
And not without more help.
Yeah, not everyone can be the Phoenix Suns, you know. It's tough to do that.
Because who's their center? Is it Brook Lopez?
That sounds right, yeah. I mean, they have a good lineup, but I think the Nets and Sixers might be better if Embiid's healthy. You got Holiday, somebody,
Chris Middleton,
Giannis, Lopez. I don't know who starts the two. Is it DiVincenzo or whatever from Villanova?
Do they have Brogdon?
No, he's with the Pacers, I think. I think they let him go. But, you know, is what it is. And then another movie remake that looks terrible.
Oh, the Space Jam trailer.
Bad. Very bad. I don't see why we have to remake it in the first place.
No, they do this so many times, but this is like such a historical movie with Michael Jordan. Then all of a sudden they're like, oh, let's bring LeBron in to do this. And
everyone knows that Michael Jordan is better than LeBron.
This whole trailer starts off like randomly they're just in some server room.
Yeah, it doesn't look great. I don't think I would even watch it, to be honest.
I just didn't like the trailer. I don't like the remake of it.
Yeah, it's not going to be – I don't think it's going to do very well numbers-wise. I just don't think people are interested. You know, the original came out a long time ago. What's the point in just redoing it now?
No, a lot of people, you know, were the diehard Jordan fans that are probably LeBron haters that are probably going to be like, I'm not going to pay to watch this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We'll see how it does in the box office and the ratings and stuff. We'll find out. But, you know, as we cap this off, we talk about –
hold on. What's that one website, the Tomatoes one or whatever?
Rotten Tomatoes, yeah.
Yeah, let's see what they judge it at when it comes out.
I'll say 22%. Boom. IMDb will be like a 4.2 out of 10. So there you go. And then we talk about how the Canucks are not in good shape.
Yeah, more than half of their players tested positive for COVID.
And to give you some backstory here, 16 players are on the COVID list. In the
how many guys are on an active NHL roster?
Well, I think you can have like 21 or 22 skaters, depending on how many goaltenders you have on your roster. Plus, there's like a taxi squad now, so it gets really dicey. But you look at the players that are on this list that start. Thatcher Demko's a starting goaltender. Alex Edler's a starting defender. So is Travis Hamonic. Adam Gaudette's a third or fourth line guy. Braden Holtby, another starting goaltender. I guess Holtby and Demko are both starters, basically. Both of their starting goaltenders are on. Bo Horvat is their captain and second line center. He's on. Quinn Hughes is their best defenseman. He's on there. Zach McEwen is a sandpaper fourth liner. Tyler Mott's a third line guy that plays. Tyler Myers is another defender that's in their top six. Brandon Sutter plays in the third line, and Antoine Roussel is an enforcer that plays in the third line. So most of the guys on the list out of the 16 play.
So basically, their entire defense group and their goalies are all
2 goalies, second best center, bunch of other bottom 6 guys that play, plus basically their entire defense. Yeah, it's not good. They weren't good anyway. They're not going to make the playoffs, but this sucks.
Are they going to be able to play, or are they just going to call a bunch of guys from the AHL?
I mean, they have a taxi squad that could have guys on there too. They probably have taxi squad guys that tested positive at this point. I mean, I don't know. Are they even going to what are they going to do? I mean,
you have to quarantine the rest of the guys that were there in the locker room.
I think some of the positives were different strains too, which is what makes it so difficult. And the other fact is that some of the guys are apparently really sick with it. So it's not a good situation at all.
But you think you have to quarantine that whole team that was in the locker room.
Yeah. I don't know when they're going to play again. they've had. Let me see their schedule. How many games they've had postponed? I'll get you the numbers right now, folks. Wait a sec, because they haven't played in a little bit. The Canadian division was doing really well with not contracting COVID. Now they are. Let's see. One game in March. So they played all the games in March except for 1, 2, 3, 4. So they've had 4 games postponed so far, and I don't know when they're going to play again. It's just a huge outbreak. For the rest of this month, they have 8 games scheduled. I'd bet they don't play most of those, and then so they have 12 games left. I think that number's right.
The NHL had initially planned on closing the Canucks practice facility until at least Tuesday, with the team returning to action on Thursday. However, those dates are expected to be pushed back, as this is the worst outbreak for a team in the NHL this season.
Yeah, they have 19 games left.
The NHL is hopeful that Canucks will be able to resume play this season, though decisions will be made on scheduling in the next few days as more information is gleaned about how players are recovering.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to play again, man. I mean, there's not very many games left anyway. They weren't going to make the playoffs. You got so many issues there. I don't know if
the Canucks are the second-base Canadian-based team to have COVID issues. Canadians had 4 games postponed in late March, but since returning to action, the NHL has now postponed 45 games because of COVID, though the first 37 postponed were on the U.S.-based teams.
Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen. Hope the best for the Canucks, obviously, and hopefully they'll get to play again. We'll find out. But this will do it for us. We will be back on Wednesday. We will cover the national championship, who won, who lost, betting picks. We'll do those as well as talk about last week's. And another winner for me in golf, of course. We won't get into that till Wednesday. And definitely wasn't that close of a favorite. So I can,
Oh, yeah, it wasn't at all.
I mean, it is what it is. But you got to take the wins you can get them. But, we'll be back Wednesday with number 6, and we'll